Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Fields, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate you joining us for this discussion with Lisa of Eastern Washington University. Before we dive in with Lisa, though, and hear about her terrific campaign, I just thought I'd take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Heather Fields, and I've been working on Giving Tuesday for about 4 years. In 2013, I was the quarterback of a Giving Tuesday campaign for the city of Baltimore. And at that time, we had a goal of raising about $1 million for the city. And then we had hundreds of nonprofits joining the campaign, as well as higher ed community leaders who joined in as well. And the good news is we ultimately raised almost $6 million. We ended up at $5.7 million. And believe me, we were stunned. we couldn't believe it. But since that time, I've been sharing the tools we used with other campaign leaders, so cities and higher ed institutions and nonprofits of all sizes. And for the last 2 years, I've worked on higher ed outreach for 92Y, who are the founders of Giving Tuesday. And I think one of the things we learned through our campaign in Baltimore was that you can't be too prepared. Starting early is really a key to success. So that's why we're bringing you case studies with folks such as Lisa. But before we get started hearing more about Lisa's campaign, I wanted to reinforce that, in my role, I publish lots of free resources for folks such as you, and you can find those free resources at any time at givingtuesday.org. But another thing that we see from our vantage point at 92Y and Giving Tuesday National Organization is, we get to find some really inspiring campaigns, and we get to see a lot of best practice case studies that we want to bring to the audience, such as the one that you're going to hear today. For those of you who don't know, Giving Tuesday, it's been growing steadily over the last several years. And last year, we had 98 countries and territories participating. Millions of people worldwide are donating to amazing organizations and institutions, also donating volunteer hours and hosting other really inspiring acts of giving on the day. And that's really exciting for us to see as well. Last year, we also watched 85 community coalitions across the United States participating with campaigns. So maybe in your city, even, there's a citywide or statewide or region-wide campaign happening. It's exciting for us to start seeing higher ed leaders are joining together with civic and community leaders to create even bigger impact in those communities. But as you can see from the graphic on screen, the impact of Giving Tuesday is real. Data from Giving Tuesday partners shows that Giving Tuesday is growing. It's continuing to grow even after 5 years. Donors are looking for places to engage and give. And we're seeing growth in sort of all areas: donations, number of donors, as well as social media engagement. And then we actually like to really track these acts of generosity or acts of kindness as well. And what we've observed over the last 5 years, as I mentioned myself, is that organizations who plan ahead to participate on Giving Tuesday are really better able to capitalize on this behavior and host ultimately successful Giving Tuesday campaigns. Which leads us to today's discussion. Last year, we had the good fortune to meet Lisa and to read about the campaign at Eastern Washington University. It's really an inspiring and it's a great campaign. Lisa and her team do a great job. And so we invited her, or asked her to please join us to share how their campaign comes together. Who's on the team? How does she recruit folks on campus to participate as well as off-campus students and online ambassadors? Is there a budget for it? When does it get started, et cetera? So that is the nature of today's discussion, and I'm really excited to hear Lisa share the campaign with you. Throughout the conversation, throughout her presentation, I might jump in with a few questions that I've received from the audience. Lisa and I have talked through her campaign, so she has a terrific set of slides here where she's going to answer most of the questions, but if something doesn't get covered at the tail end of this presentation, I'll bring those questions back up, and we expect this recording to go about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. But without further ado, let me turn it over to Lisa And Lisa, as you get started, maybe you could explain a little bit about who you are, your role at the university, and tell our audience a little bit about the size of the university as well. And I'll turn it over to you to advance the slides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so I'm Lisa, and I'm the Director of Alumni Advancement here at Eastern Washington University. And I've been at the university in this role for about 12 years. And what the Director of Alumni Advancement is I actually oversee both the Alumni Office and the Annual Giving Office. And we participated, as Heather said, in our first Giving Tuesday campaign this year. We have a university with approximately 13,000 students, and our alumni population is at about 90,000 alumni. We're a little bit unique, being a regional university. The majority, about 70% of our alumni stay in our state, and about 30% of our alumni stay within our own county that we're within. So we are really fortunate, although we have alumni all over the country, we have a large proportion that stay, work, play close to the campus once they graduate. So that's just a little bit about our university and my role within it. So I think if we're good, I'll just go ahead and start talking about our campaign that we did, and then just maybe answer some questions along the way. Does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, sounds great.
So, great. So we actually came up with our brand for Giving Tuesday as Giving Joy Day. And for us, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, we've been asked why Giving Joy Day. How did we come up with that? How did we come up with that tagline? And I wish I had this really concrete theoretical response to that, but in reality, we sort of did it backwards. We were already working on a couple of scholarship video concepts with the marketing team. And the idea that we came up with for those videos that we were going to show as some commercials in the local area is we wanted to capture students receiving scholarships that they had no idea that they were getting. And we wanted to basically capture the joy that is on a person's face, sort of like the Publishers Clearinghouse version, and sort of show that joy that they received upon hearing that, like, you got a scholarship. And so we created these videos with a couple of students in the area, and I worked with that team to go out there and shoot those videos. And so we came up with this concept of joy brought to you by Eastern Washington University. Well, sort of parallel to that, we were working on defining our role in the first Giving Tuesday campaign, and how would we motivate people to give online, and what would that look like. And so we were sort of running these parallel paths that at some brainstorming meeting came to be, hey, let's make it Giving Joy Day, and incorporate these videos as sort of part of that and be able to share those during that time. So I'm sure everyone's had those moments.
That sounds like that was a lot of fun to take those videos.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was really exciting.
Exactly. So as we go through, I'll share more sort of how that joy piece sort of played a major role in what we ended up doing in the long run. So why we decided to join specifically Giving Tuesday is that we're in the ending part of our first year of a scholarship campaign. So at our university, we have a newer president, and she wanted us to start working on a $5 million scholarship campaign. And so that was sort of one piece of a few pieces. The next piece was just we had been wanting and having the conversation about having a one-day social media campaign from an annual giving standpoint. There was a lot of conversations online and universities that were doing one-day social media campaigns. And so we were sort of keeping our eye on it, trying to figure out the resources that were needed in order to be able to pull off a one-day social media campaign. We are very small staffed here, so we weren't sure we really had the capability to be able to do it functionally in order to keep track of the money coming in and to be able to keep up with social media content throughout the day with the resources we had on campus. But it was something we definitely knew was important because more and more universities were talking about it, and it was such a great way to meet, or I guess share the giving message with a new audience that hadn't necessarily been giving through telefund and direct mail methods. The other part was we had shared wanting to do the campaign at a board meeting, actually, and one of the board members who owned a local ad agency had actually approached us later and said that they would help us participate in a one-day campaign and give us at no cost some of that advice and help because they had never done a one-day campaign. So in exchange for them helping us, it provided them a portfolio opportunity so that they could then, after helping us, promote their assistance to other universities that were looking at doing it as well. And then we also
really good fortune.
Yeah, and then we were also just we were watching Giving Tuesday. We had a few years prior, a couple alumni who were reaching out and saying, "Are you participating in Giving Tuesday?" And I think the first year it happened, our response was, "What is Giving Tuesday?" And then the next year it happened, we had a few more alumni reach out, and we, of course, knew what it was at that point. And then the next year we thought, okay, so people are already asking us how we're participating. At some level, whatever level that is, we need to participate if people are asking to give already. So that was just no question. It was just a matter of how are we participating. So that kind of shares sort of our reasoning of moving forward. So our unique approach to everything really had to do with the Giving Joy Day and what could we do with that. So right away, once we came up with that concept, I think by the end of the day we had purchased, givingjoyday.org so we could get moving on that, as well as creating a hashtag, and started with our calendar of what we were going to do. We, unlike a lot of approaches, we did include some paid marketing as a part of that. I talked a little bit about that video that we created that showed the joy of a student receiving a scholarship. But along with that, we did some 15-second digital ads just with some students around campus that were just quirky and fun, and told students they were like opening an envelope and like jumping for joy because they received the scholarship, and just some text messaging along the way with some really fun music. And so just going again with that concept of joy that students get and really wanting that to come across. And then we just did the digital retargeting ads and videos on various websites, which our media or our ad agency helped us with. And then really the focus and encouragement on the sharing joy. And I think that was something that Heather had approached me early on, was just our unique approach of what we were doing with the word joy. And we had gone out to our staff and had talked to alumni and really talking about what joy would mean to them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we wanted this campaign to really be more than just financial giving. We wanted the day to be something that would be interactive and bring excitement in a way that people could not just give financial contributions to bring joy, but to just share the concept of whatever you do today, although we want you to give joy in some fashion on that particular day. That's what we want you to do. And gave some examples within a one-sheeter that we created of what that could look like to departments, to students, to ambassadors, to our alumni. And then, of course, the social media downloads, the wallpapers and Facebook profiles, screensavers, stuff that could, again, make it more fun and people could participate in. And then we also went to our IT department and asked to take over Eastern's website for the day. So when anyone would go to our main website, instead of them coming just to our regular website, they would come to our Giving Joy Day website. And then they could, of course, redirect. But the goal was get them to the website and they could immediately click on making a gift, again, with a really quick, interactive way to give from the main site.
Hey, Lisa, before you move to your next slide, just curious, so what time of year was all this happening? Like, when did you decide on the brand and get the website and the hashtag and talk to IT about an eventual takeover? What month were you in?
Yeah, we were really in July or August. It took us a long time to Giving Joy. The brand of Giving Joy itself. So I would say it was definitely July or August. I can kind of go back to that. I was just recently looking at that as we're coming up quickly on the next one. Feeling a little behind right now. I went back to look, and it was July or August of last year, so that made me a little more at ease this year. Okay. Yeah, and the great thing is, and if some people have not been to the Giving Tuesday website, is that there's a timeline right there that we definitely followed and adjusted based on where we were at, and that was a huge help. I wasn't asked to make a commercial for Giving Tuesday's website, but there are so many amazing resources there, especially for those of us, like for us who were going through their very first year. I felt like it was sort of like a cheat sheet for us to sort of keep us on track and tell us what we should be doing next.
Great.
Our goals, so kind of setting our goals, and I think this question came up a few times, but about the money, so I'll maybe hang on that one a little longer. But again, back to the video idea, we talked a lot about why our day would mean a little bit more than just your average scholarship ask. And so whatever we did, we wanted to make sure that our story was being told from the eyes of a student. So we weren't just asking for money, but we wanted to make sure that we were trying to share that joy that giving presents to a student, to remind our donors and our alumni just the pure excitement that comes from receiving a scholarship. So everything we did, we tried to do it from the eyes of a student. Of course, to increase participation, we're trying to reach a new audience through social media. And so we wanted to increase the number of donors by reaching out to a new segment through a new way, which through social media. We also set our goal at $100,000 for student scholarships. And we talked a lot about this. We looked at how much money do we generally raise in the month of November? How many donors do we generally have? We looked at, we talked with development to see how many donors do we think we could potentially get, or who were already in the pipeline of giving a gift, who would maybe give during this time frame. We talked about matching gift opportunities. and had some conversations with some companies who potentially would maybe do some matching. So once we sort of had that data in, we felt like we wanted to shoot for 100,000. We knew for sure we could get to 50, but we felt like we could definitely get to 100 if we just worked really hard at it. And I think that's something that's really important, because we knew if we went out to our leadership on campus and to our alumni with a $50,000 goal, it was sort of a snoozer, right? There's nothing really too exciting about raising $50,000 in one day. But to say $100,000, that's more impressive. And so we wanted it to be a stretch goal, and I think that that's really important, just doing something, whatever that looks like for your school. For your school, it might be $5 million, but for us, a stretch goal was 100. And so whatever that looks like for you, just make sure it's impressive enough that people feel like they want to participate, that they're going to participate in something exciting. And it's okay. It's better to not reach it than to just have something that's not that impressive to your constituents. And of course, because of the word joy, we were really wanting to, with our students particularly, we wanted to raise the awareness of philanthropy on campus. We wanted students to be very aware of this campaign, and we wanted to celebrate with them that particular day, which will come up. And of course, to just feel and share joy. That went out in all of our messaging. That was really important. We met with students, we met with staff, we met with faculty, we met with alumni groups, we gathered ambassadors, and that was always a part of our message, is how does Giving Joy Day, what would that look like to you? So some of our key activities, right away we registered with Giving Tuesday, so that when people went to that site, they would see that we were a participant. We created a facts at a glance page, so what would count, what wouldn't count, when things would count, all the logistical pieces that our money people want to know. We started working right away on social media ambassadors. Those are so key to making that day happen. So we promoted the participation on campus with students, with faculty, with staff. We gathered people who were already alumni and friends who were already participating a great deal on our ambassador pages. We, as sort of a collective advancement unit, which includes alumni, annual giving, marketing, advancement, development, we sort of as part of a leadership team talked about who within our social media networks were sort of those social media advocates who are always out there on social media, and we made a list of those people, and we started asking those people to participate. So the social media ambassadors, we started working on that in July or August as well, but we were still gaining traction on that right until before the actual day in November. So we didn't get 60 right off the bat. We just continued to talk about it in meetings, in conversations, and it just slowly grew to 60. Actually, I think we ended up closer to 75. Again, we worked closely with marketing, annual giving, marketing, alumni. We were all in this together. It was really important because it all plays a role in the outreach and the messaging of the university. And so we started creating graphics and teaser videos as soon as possible, created a map and timeline of the social media content for the day. So we had our social media person from alumni, we had our social media person from marketing, and our social media person from IT, and then also a couple of social media students. And they together had a conversation separate from me being in the room about what a good timeline would look like for social media content for the day, and then presented it to us. So that was great having them really work on it because they're the experts on how social media works and how social media, especially with Facebook, is blocked. And, if you report things too many times, then they'll stop being shared. And it's beyond me. So getting those people involved is really important. Creating the Giving Joy website and really coming up with that one-step giving merchant solution, which took us a little longer. But the important part of that is just making the transaction quick. So most of us annual giving people have a very lengthy giving page. Like if you're going to give a gift, we ask a million questions so we can know everything about you. And so on that particular day, you enter your name, you enter your amount, and then basically your very basic information. Now, you're not going to get all the information you want from your donor that day, but the most important part was for us just to make a quick transaction and make it very, very easy. We had posters made and buttons made. We presented to our Chamber of Commerce. We presented to a lot of different business partners and asked them to put up posters and wear buttons on that particular day. At the chamber meeting, it was fun because some of the businesses were making challenges towards each other on that day, which was great. We did a postcard mailing just telling people that the day was going to happen, just leading up to that as well as the emails. So if we didn't have a good email, we sent out a postcard. And we actually did pay to have postcards sent out to all of our alumni sharing. Now, whether that was a good investment or not, I don't know particularly, but we did want to make sure that even if people didn't give, they were going to be aware of it because we were going to make our goal and then we were going to share the success. And with success, everyone wants to participate in future success. So we thought, well, even if people don't participate this year, they'll see the success and maybe they'll participate next year. And then just as many places as we could put promotions up on campus, on digital displays, we had these huge banners made and put them at 3 places on campus on buildings that said Giving Joy Day with the date, but we did not say what it was. Which was awesome because then we had the student newspaper come to us and ask us, what are these signs? What do they mean? So there was a little bit of buzz because no one had any idea what Giving Joy Day was. And so it did create a little buzz because we did that before we promoted any of it. So that was fun.
How far in advance did you hang those up?
We hung those up about, let's see here, I want to say a month in advance. So we hung those up in October. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Yeah, a little mystery. That's great.
Yeah. And then we also created a tactic which we feel we did not do well. I can talk about it at the end, but what we would do once the goal was reached and how we would thank donors. So we knew when we reached that goal, are we going to announce it right away that day? Are we going to wait till the evening? Are we going to wait till the next day? We had a lot of discussions about that, and those discussions took place the entire day of Giving Joy Day, and they changed. And I think we did it wrong, but we can talk about that later. These are just a few of the additional pre-communication outlets. Talked about a little bit about just identifying corporate and individual donors who can donate a major gift that day. I think it'll be a little easier this year talking development into it. People like to be part of something big. And, if you're working with someone who's already considering making a gift, why not have them make a gift on some day that's fun? And for corporate, because it's a day that's so well marketed and so well communicated, it's an easy ask for a company to do a matching gift. And as we all know in annual giving, matching gifts are like gold, if you can get that excitement going. So we not only had a matching gift partner, but we also had a share partner. So, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I want to say that for every person, so we met the match goal, and then we announced later that day the share goal. And so for every, I think it was for every 5 shares or 2 shares, then they would give $1 up to $10,000 towards scholarships.
Wow.
And so that was just sort of a
really
new
good.
way to kind of keep the energy going that day.
That's
so
great.
that was a lot of fun. We started early with all of our annual giving pieces. We started putting sticky notes that said Giving Joy Day. Again, we did a lot of teasers, not totally explaining what we were doing, but it said givingjoyday.org with the date, exactly what you see, that logo down there on the bottom of this slide. We were putting that in different outlets just to start, again, getting people to think, what is that? We created, again, the buttons, the toolkit for the ambassadors explaining what their role would be, what their job and task description would be. So if someone identified they were interested in knowing more, then we would send them sort of their job description and what the expectation was for that particular day. We also had balloons ordered and Almond Joy bars. We had a lot of Almond Joy bars, and the goal was we were going to hand those out a lot that day at various places, and they had messaging on them. So the balloons were just balloons, but we had messaging attached to all the Almond Joy candy bars that had the website and asking people to give joy that particular day. And then we worked at just finding places where we were going to have the balloons, who we were going to give the joy bars to, some of our partners who could hand them out as well. And then, again, we had the student newspaper as well as the local newspaper who picked up on what is Giving Joy Day like, tell us about it. So we had information in those 2 sites. So I think one of the best things for us that happened was we got our entire advancement staff engaged in this process, and we had a lot of support from our vice president who we had identified saying, we really want to shut down our unit that day and have everyone participate in some aspect of Giving Joy Day. If this is important, we want our entire unit, marketing, graphic designers, people who are processing money, our researchers, our IT people. We want everyone to sort of take a break that day from their regular job and somehow participate in what it means to give joy on that particular day. So not asking for money, but finding a role for themselves that day. So we had an all advancement staff meeting and shared with them the concept and what it meant, and asked them what giving joy would mean that particular day and how it would tie back. And we broke into these brainstorming units and these smaller teams and had them really define, if we were going to demonstrate and communicate giving joy in our local Spokane outlet, which is just about 20 minutes from town in our bigger hub, and then on campus and then with our students, what would that look like? Help us define that. What could we be doing? What would your team do? So we broke them into their own teams and created team leaders for each team. And with us running, there was about 5 of us that were sort of the leads on running the larger campaign itself. These teams created their own vision for one team being faculty staff, one team being student outreach, and one team being Spokane outreach. And they came up with their own ideas and presented me their budget for their ideas and made it happen. And that was probably the most fun part of the entire day, was seeing teammates who don't already, get involved with campaigning do these really special things. And so, like the Spokane team, they went to the main bus hub where students and faculty and staff get on the bus to come out to campus, and they were handing out coffee and balloons and almond joy bar and telling them to give joy to someone. We had another group that had given out free coffee tokens to business leaders in the Spokane area. So a coffee company in downtown Spokane said they would donate X amount of cups of coffee in exchange for these tokens. So business leaders could go in and give their Giving Joy Day coupon that day. And on campus, we were giving out free hot cocoa and candy bars to students in the main part of campus and doing live Facebook feeds. And that was fun because you saw the chatter from the students who were telling other students, it's November 29th, it's pretty cold here. So students were saying, hey, get your free hot chocolate, come by the library, it's Giving Joy Day. And students going, what's Giving Joy Day? Well, come by and get your so it was a lot of fun. And same with EW faculty and staff. That was a great opportunity for us to go to faculty and staff offices who already gave to Eastern and give them little coupons to stop by our office and get a free candy bar, and just thanking them. They were little notes of thanks. And, it was just a way to share, again, the messaging and really have fun with it.
I think this is great. This is a great example of how to build sort of that coordination across a campus and that collaboration across a campus. And also, wow, how many great creative ideas you got out of that by all those folks coming together and breaking out like that.
Yeah.
I was curious.
Definitely. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just wondering, when
please.
did that meeting occur? Just again for our audience, trying to give them a sense of your kind of planning timeline.
For the all-staff meeting?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the all-staff meeting occurred in, I want to say, early September.
Okay.
So after Labor Day, once everyone was back from vacations and things. So, and it took a little while. I mean, it took some encouragement. It took some encouragement to find the leaders. So, here's our teams, and the teams, nobody wants to be the leader, right? And so then to say,
right.
Hey, I think you would be a great leader, and how can I help you? And so
that's great.
Yeah, and the fact that we were successful, and I move to the next slide. I think this year it will be so much easier, just because now the team completely felt invested in that day. And it was a big celebration the next day. We brought in donuts and, we had these little things that we shot off with confetti and, just made it fun for everybody. So people felt like they definitely were the reason why we reached that goal, and that was, one of the main reasons why, to get everybody involved. So as you could see from our results, we completely exceeded our goal, which is good and bad, because then, of course, the president came the next day and said, great, so next year the goal is going to be $300,000.
No pressure.
Yeah, but again, just to be realistic, those larger dollars are from working with the development team in identifying some donors that can give that day. I mean, of no secret, all these campaigns that you see, there's not $5 million raised through social media that particular day. So, but I did want to share as a part of this, that being said and done, we raised $40,000 to $50,000 completely organically through social media that day. So those were people we had no idea were going to give a gift on that particular day, solely through social
Wow.
media outlets. And so for us, that's just for our team, that's a very big deal because we do not have a good history yet of even donors giving online through email campaigns and through Facebook. We just have not shifted to that like some schools have yet. So organically, we were very excited. We had 227
now
donors.
You have, I was just going to say, now you have a playbook from the social media experience you had last year that you can use again this year and keep building. It sounds like that social media team that you put together did a really great job.
Yeah, and we definitely learned some things, and I'll share that at the end of what we could do better through social media. But yeah, it was really, really great. And of course, the match helped, the sharing helped, the sharing match helped. I have no doubts about that. So we had 227 donors that day, 50 first-time donors, and I was really excited to see that we actually had 38 of our lapsed donors come back to us. We had 34 of our board members participate. That includes our alumni board, foundation board, board of trustees. And then I was also excited that we actually had 88 faculty and staff members participate. And the reason why that's so cool is because that's November 29th, and our faculty and staff campaign ran in October, and that too had a match associated with it. So it was really impressive to me to see that faculty and staff gave in November and in October for some of them. So the fact that it reached some of our faculty and staff outside of a faculty and staff campaign we had already run.
Yeah, wow, that is impressive.
So for the social media junkies out there, this is from our social media team. They created some some information slides for the presentation, just talking about the total number of posts that they had that day, the views, 84,000 people talking about #GivingJoyDay, total impressions over 200,000. And then this
great. Looks
that
like
was
you reached
Facebook.
A lot of those alumni.
Yeah, exactly. And then I do not know how to use Twitter still, but we do participate in Twitter quite a bit at the university, and so of course that was a big part of our game. We do not participate as much in Instagram. We're getting more involved, but as that day, we had a student that really helped manage the Instagram part of that. Students seem to be more in touch with what's happening in Instagram than us, and so she kept up with that during that day as well. So you can see there's some really great numbers of people viewing and sharing and looking at posts. So what we learned is we could actually do it. Just to kind of go back to staffing, so we have a 2-member team in annual giving. We have someone that is devoted to telefund and someone that's more devoted to direct mail and email giving. And then there's myself, and I also oversee alumni, which is also a 2-member team. The marketing team, like I said, has 1 person dedicated. The marketing office has 1 person dedicated to social media posting. We had 1 person from IT that helped us with that particular day. And then we had a graphic designer, of course, helping with the graphic design pieces as well as the video pieces. So, and then the director of marketing and myself sort of ran the leadership piece of that, kind of keeping us on track and having meetings and seeing where everyone is and trying to put out, little fires as they came up. And so our team was not large. So we also, I know, I want to highlight to anyone who is thinking, well, yeah, you had an ad agency. Well, the ad agency played a very minor role as it related to the actual legwork of the campaign. They helped with doing some of the research about giving options. They did some of the help with doing some of the 15-second video clips, as well as they did some of the help as it related to doing some of the purchasing of takeovers. So the purchasing of media. We have a local TV station that we did some purchasing on to take over their website for a certain period, so they helped with that. But when it came to the actual running and management of the campaign, they did not participate in that. So just if anyone took from this that, oh, well, they had an ad campaign or an ad agency, they really played a very minor role in the implementation. The social media people, they would reduce the number of social media posts. They feel like they had a few too many that day. And we really encouraged ambassadors to share what we were doing. Well, we found that there was just too much overlapping of sharing the same message. And so this year, one of the things we want to work on is having the ambassadors take the message and then make it their own. So take some version of that message and then repost it, but on their own, in their own words. Because then when they're sharing it, it'll look a little bit different than ours, and it will look a little bit different than their friends who happen to be the same friends with the other friends. So we want to give our ambassadors a little bit more free rein to share different messaging. We want to make sure our contact information is more visible on the website. So it was kind of just tucked in a corner. We want to make sure that, how to get a hold of us that particular day is loud and proud. So if people want to call in or have questions or make a gift over the phone, that we can do that. The timing of the announcing we're constantly running how much money we were at. And we want to run every 30 minutes where we're at versus every hour. We were finding that people were constantly asking us where we were, and every hour just wasn't enough. We did all this paid media, and we felt at the very end of the campaign that it really wasn't necessary and didn't have any effect on the bottom line and how much money we raised. That the money we raised was completely about that day and didn't have anything to do with the media that we purchased through television. The balloons, that was just kind of a funny because we had so many balloons that we pumped them all up the day before, and because, again, it's November and the heat goes off during the evening, we came back and most all the balloons were dead. So, yeah,
oh no.
Unless you live in a warm area, I would say don't worry about balloons, although they did look very festive, the ones that survived. We would encourage more involvement with students. So we shared the message with students and faculty and staff, and one of the coolest things that came out of that day was that a faculty member took it upon herself and didn't share it with us until afterwards, that she challenged her class to take a day off from class and give joy, and then to tweet about it or Facebook about it. So we found out later that this class, these students, they went out, one student made homemade dog bones and biscuits and donated them to the local humane shelter. We had another student who tweeted about painting an elderly woman's living room, someone else who had tweeted about donating some books to a library. And so we had this class participating in Giving Joy Day that we had no idea about until afterwards. And so it it impacted us as a team to say, we should be more communicative on the front end with some of our student teams to challenge them to do giving joy opportunities. We have a community engagement office to go meet with them and see if they want to participate somehow. We have this concept, but the fact that we had a faculty and some students take it literal like we sort of had hoped was really exciting.
Those are some really great examples. I love the dog bones and just the way that they really embraced the day, and that's terrific. Wow.
And then just trying to get athletics more involved. They sort of had talked about it and hadn't, so we just want to make sure with all of their outlets that they have that we want to see and have longer conversations with them earlier on of how they can be involved. I really think we just went to them a little too late, and they had, football starting off and all the fall sports that we just went to them a little too late. They were sort of already bogged down with the fall sports season, so going to them earlier. And then I alluded to a little bit earlier is just locking in the logistics of announcing a goal and then resetting a stretch goal. So we figured we would make decisions the day of what we would do with the goal, and then we found ourselves really bouncing around. Should we do this? Should we do that? Should we do this? And we feel that the thing that we should have done is once we reached 100,000, we feel like there was a real big opportunity to set a new stretch goal. And so this year we will definitely have a goal, and then we will have a stretch goal if we reach that in our back pocket. Because how social media works, and anyone who follows it, there's certain times of day where social media participation is stronger than others. So our giving that day was really consistent all day long. We had kind of a heavy in the morning, and then it stayed consistent all day long. And we felt like once we hit 5 o'clock, just like historical social media participation shows, that there would be an uptick in giving, but there wasn't. It just stayed steady until midnight. And so we learned that we really felt like we sort of showed all of our cards early on with the match and with our goal. We announced the goal at, I think, 5 p.m., and we felt that that probably killed our momentum. So we feel that we should have had maybe one more match in our pocket and or even just setting one more goal to get us through midnight that might encourage some more participation. So for what it's worth for people that are looking at doing that.
Yeah, so one thing we've seen with some other schools there, Lisa, is same thing. So in year 2, they might set a goal after or during the dinner hour or during some of those lulls throughout the day. They introduce a new goal. And so you mentioned the sharing goal. So there could be some of those other types of goals that they introduce to try to keep the excitement going, keep the momentum going throughout the day. So I think that's a good idea to think about for year 2.
Right. So that's sort of what I had, unless you have any questions.
I do. Thank you so much. I mean, this was a great campaign, obviously, and I really appreciate you taking us all through the details of how it came together and the timing. It's exciting to see how you exceeded that goal in year 1. Wow, it's really terrific. Congratulations. So a couple of things I wanted to touch on. You mentioned at one point, meeting with your finance team about how you would count donations on Giving Joy Day, and this is definitely a question that comes up in some of our other webinars and meetings with higher ed. Did you count, donations just in the 24-hour period? Did you count the full weekend? Do you count the full month? We don't, as far as Giving Tuesday is concerned, there's no rules. It's however you want to do it. but this is definitely a conversation we're hearing across some of the higher ed campuses. Some of them are, strict. It's just dollars coming in the 24-hour period. Others, it's an entire week. Others, it's just the entire month. Why not? I was just curious how you handle that.
Yeah, that's a great question because we had obviously a lot of conversation about it. We decided just to count within that 24-hour period, and we did not count any pledges. So, so that was for us. We will probably keep consistent with that because we don't want to be comparing apples to oranges as we move forward with future campaigns. So not to say so we sort of have two numbers we report. The number you see is the number of how much money was calculated in that 24-hour period. But we do have another number, and I don't know it off the top of my head, of the amount that came out of that day. So there were pledges made on that particular day, and so there's that secondary number. But the number that we reported is money in the door.
Got it. Okay, great. And I was curious, I know another question that comes up across some of our schools is, they do another Giving Day in the spring, and they're thinking about Giving Tuesday in the fall, and they wonder, does one cannibalize another, and how do they work together? So I was just curious if you do another Giving Day on the campus.
We do not. We've had that conversation. Again, as I said, our staffing levels are pretty low, and so we felt that certainly Giving Tuesday is a natural fit because people are already looking at giving on that particular day anyway. Certainly there's a challenge because people will give to other organizations as well. If you're philanthropic, chances are you're giving to more than one cause, so people could be giving to other causes. But we feel that for us it's a natural day because it's already being communicated in other ways. Ideally, we would do another day as well in the, maybe in the spring. But right now we're just going to stick to Giving Tuesday in November.
Got it. And I think we'll be having a webinar on this topic in a couple of months just to explore it a little bit more. But just for the audience, what we see for schools who do both Spring Giving Day and then Giving Tuesday is they're doing a really good job of sort of coordinating both. So they might, through Giving Tuesday, acquire new donors or activate a big new core of online ambassadors who they then cultivate for the Spring Giving Day campaign. So they've figured out how to work the two together so they're not competing, but they actually elevate each other. But I'm hoping to do a webinar on that topic, so I'll move on.
Oh, great.
Yep. And I guess, you've given us a lot of great information. Before we wrap, were there any other sort of aha moments or lessons learned from this campaign or last-minute advice that you'd like to share with the audience?
I would just say the best advice I can share just right now is that it's not too late to start. I would advise just because your donors are already looking at Giving Tuesday, why not do something, even if it's just an email campaign? If it's as simple as that the first year. And then the second thing would be to really have fun with it and just not work in a silo. I think that was the thing that kind of kept our energy up, and it wasn't just another campaign. It was fun because we felt like we were working a part of a larger team of individuals trying to achieve that goal. And so I would just encourage people to, brainstorm ahead of time instead of just all the annual giving officers sitting around the table deciding what Giving Tuesday or a one-day campaign will look like, to think a little outside the box of who you could pull in to participate in some fashion so that it's just a little bit bigger than just you guys. And I think that keeps the energy and the excitement a little higher and makes people a little bit more bought into achieving that goal.
Oh, that's great. Yes, we had 3 questions, but I think you've covered them. Where are you with 2017, which you've already covered. You've mentioned you're about to get started, but you've got some great playbooks and learning from last year, and you've given us all some really great advice. So thank you so much, Lisa, for the generosity of time that you've given us today and in preparation for today. I really appreciate it. But just for the audience, if there are any additional questions you think about after this event or just Giving Tuesday in general, my email is on screen. It's hfieldsmarketing@gmail.com. And you can always find me through givingtuesday.org or the email that we send out twice a month. And we'll have some additional recorded discussions coming up here over the next few months to help you with your campaign planning. So Lisa, again, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate your time and sharing, and look forward to watching your campaign again this year.
Great. Thanks, and good luck to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.